What's going on? Welcome back to Trading Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. Go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So this upcoming week is going to be another interesting week, not only because we have the dreaded CPI coming out. So starting off with data points, Monday is going to be more technical driven, kind of just looking back at what has happened the previous week. Tuesday, PPI, and then you have the dreaded, like I said, CPI on Wednesday. So this is going to be the very first inflationary data point since Powell signaled that it's going from, or at least their estimates for 2025 went from 2.1 to 2.5. So essentially a lot of eyes are going to be on this. So this is going to cause a lot of disruption. At the same time, on that very day, you have a lot of banks kicking off their earnings. So bank earnings are back in full force. So essentially, depending on what their numbers are and what they give for future guidance as well, that has the ability to really move the market, and especially SoFi. So Wednesday is going to be a very, very volatile day. Thursday, you have retail sales, initial jobless claims, a couple of Fed speakers as well throughout the week. And then Friday, you have permits and housing starts. So like I said, a lot of volatility going into this week, though. SoFi is somewhat at the edge, and so it is currently below that 50-day moving average. I'm going to go over that in a second, but nothing really planned associated to SoFi this upcoming week. A lot of individuals are starting to say that SoFi is going to have a epic run this week and kind of push higher, and I think at the end of the day, they're just looking on historical data, because historically SoFi always does run up leading into their earnings and then usually sells off. There's of course one or two exceptions to that, but I think a lot of people can't really fathom what has been happening with SoFi over the like for instance, last 5 days, over the last 1 month, down 10%. So I think in general, a lot of people are getting humbled by the technicals and the broader market. Friday's sell-off, in my opinion, was largely unjustified. Unemployment better than anticipated, non-farm payroll. So data points have been good. Just the market threw a little bit of a temper tantrum because of interest rates potentially not being cut sooner than what they originally forecasted. And I think in the end, it's justified, right? Because why do you need to cut rates if the data is good? So like I said, this dynamic right now could also change with Wednesday's data. But going into this upcoming week, 12.97% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 138.32 million shares overall are being shorted. Shorts have actually been rather timid last week, so 279,000 shares were increased on Friday. So they've been not really doing all that much, so no real substantial swings. Actually, I think all last week it didn't actually go up or down in excess of 1 million. So they've been very quiet, maybe waiting for instance, bank earnings or something like that. Cost to borrow minimum is back to being corrected, so that's always a good thing. Looking at the options, though, of the call options that are and were purchased on Friday, you see a consensus for it to be above roughly around $16 this week. So a nice recovery. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub roughly 13/12. So more of a breaking down on that. And that's linked to that 50-day moving average I'll go over in a second. But this week is a very hot week for options. So it is a monthly chain, and so this is currently the open interest. So you have 25,000 at that 13, 29,000 at the 12, 16 at the 14, 90 at the 15. So if the bulls are right and it is able to get and recover above that $15 strike price, then things could get very, very positive and very real. Could see a gamma squeeze possibly. 27,000 at the 16, and then 25,000 at the 17, and so forth. So very, very hot chain. So definitely kind of stay tuned for that. So that'll result in a lot more volatility come Friday, as we always know that market makers and shorts like to suppress and manipulate SoFi to close basically 1 cent below the strike prices. So kind of comical, but with it at $14.15. It is right above this S2, so 14.11 is going to be a key support that you just watch for it to hold early on. If not, then just based on this, it could go down to roughly around that $13.11 range. That'll be the following support. Flip side, 14.73, and then 15.72 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. But in reality, Monday is going to be very important because that 50-day moving average, and that's currently sitting at $14.60. That is something that SoFi does need to really get above, because historically speaking, I know I brought this up in the last couple of videos. Some people are disagreeing, and that's completely fine, because technical analysis is kind of hard. You're predicting previous data and analyzing previous data to try and forecast what might be coming. But historically, whenever SoFi does close below that 50-day moving average, there's roughly another 20% pullback. So that's going to be a key one to really watch for early on in next week. ALMA as well is sitting at pretty much that 50-day moving average. So ALMA is sitting at 14.58. So more on a technical standpoint, I think there is a little bit more consolidation, unless the data points that do come out, CPI more specifically, is positive. So I know that's kind of unpopular opinion. A lot of individuals and influencers are kind of saying that we're going to just go back up to 18 and 20 from here starting this week. It could happen, but I think as of right now, especially if SoFi does close below that 50-day moving average for a second consecutive trading day, then essentially it's kind of like catching a falling knife. It's hard to predict. Could happen, and SoFi usually does have these very nice rebounds and kind of pushes higher, as what we've seen over here, and even just in the past when like SoFi does rebound, it goes up fairly fast. But at this stage in the game, it's hard to predict. So you do obviously whatever floats your boat. If you want to buy, average down, do what you need. But I think in reality, CPI is going to come in line with expectations, and the market might not necessarily like that. That's just my predictions, of course. So in regards to SoFi, I think there might be a little bit more further consolidation. But if you do believe in SoFi and everything, then take advantage, average down, do what you need to do. There might be some new ratings that also do come out this week. Obviously, SoFi, like the weeks leading into their earnings, they always get these random ratings. Doesn't logically make sense. But I think that could come as well this week, and dependent on the price target that is given, then you might see a kind of a corresponding push higher. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Throw your price predictions in the comments below on where you see things going. And do you think that we are going to have a nice recovery back to 18, or do you think we're going to pull back to, let's say, going back over here to roughly that, let's say, $13 range, or heaven forbid that 10 if CPI is negative? So what's your just overall thoughts on that? One final thing, pop over to my Discord. I did launch a completely free Discord, so a lot of good individuals from there. All of my different YouTube channels all are kind of joining that one right there. So a lot of good individuals sharing information, trades, learning about options and things like that. So pop over there and take a look. With all that said, hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far. And with all that, appreciate all of you watching.